Hi, and a very good morning to everyone who's joining us online today for the SOMAT Design Week. Now, just a little introduction to the SOMAT Design Week. It takes place from today, the 18th, to the 20th of November 2021. Now, the whole intention of having this Design Week is actually to celebrate and promote the interdisciplinary designs and creative works, and also taking an opportunity for us to actually showcase online for the very first time, as well as to highlight some of the things in terms of design to all of you. Now, in the past, we would always be able to throw up an event here on campus, but we did not want to miss out on this year and decided to bring you everything online in the safety and comfort of your home as well. Now, to kick off today's event, we have a guest with us who's not only has extensive experience in terms of academia or academics, but as well as in terms of industry. He started off his career as a designer with a Malaysian handicraft. He has worked as an automotive designer with Motor Panels UK in the late 80s, and he has also served as a design director in Nomad Automation System UK. He is the design professor at the Design School of UITM, the president of PERICA, the Malaysian Industrial Design Society, as well as just recently completed his tenure as general manager of the Malaysia Design Council. We have with us today Professor Dr. MOHAMAD HARIRI bin Abdullah. Hi, and welcome to you, Prof. Hariri. Prof, I think your mic is muted.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Leroy. Good morning, everyone.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Prof. When we looked at your profile, we noticed that it's not just you bring the wealth of experience in terms as an academic, but as well as the industry. You've served as well in the government. You bring to us today not just one perspective of design, but coming from different stakeholders. And we're really glad to have you because we know that when you share, you're able to speak with authority in not just as a practicing designer, not just as an academic, but also in terms of those in the powers that be in terms of setting policies and letting the industry grow as well. Now, to start off, I would love to hear from you a little bit about how Malaysia is doing in terms of design.
Okay. Thank you very much, our moderator today, Mr. Leroy. And thank you to APU for having me to share some insight and knowledge in regard to the three things about the emotion, perception, and interaction. So back to your question, I would say that currently I can see that the design industry is picking up in Malaysia. It's just a matter we can do some changes in the mindset of the people, yeah, where we need to encourage local design rather than we are taking others and change here and there we claim others, yeah, and then we can create our own design. I think the campaign that has been done by the Malaysian Design Council currently is about creating own design as own brand that need to be support by everyone. And therefore, for what I'm having today to share partly one of the things that maybe designers need to look into, how we can create our own design, and we should be proud that it came from our country, Malaysia. As we know that we have a lot of creative people in Malaysia. But again, talking about the design industry in Malaysia also, from my experiences being with the Malaysian Design Council and also having the Malaysian Good Design Award, yeah, for almost 10 years, and we can see that the local industry start to value the presence of design people in the local industry. So I think this is a good sign. But those initiatives need to be done not only by the government agency like Malaysian Design Council or MDEC alone or MT, but it's our responsibility actually. Being academician and you are the student who are going to be the future designers need to take part into this rather than just referring to what I wish to say to others about being following the Professor Yahoo and Professor Google and you call this your own design. So maybe that could be something that can trigger our introduction today.
Lovely, lovely. I definitely agree with you, Prof. Hariri. We also know that you're also fondly known as Dr. Design to many of us. And
Thank
I
you.
believe that today with your sharing, which is product that deliver emotion, perception, and interaction with users and viewers, are deep insights to how we as a whole in the industry will be able to work together with different stakeholders in propelling Malaysia to a greater heights in terms of design. And with this, I will pass the stage to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you once again to our moderator today, Mr. Leroy, for having me to share some insight and to share some knowledge in regard to the title, product that deliver emotion, perception, and interaction with users and viewers. So basically, when we look into these topics, yeah, there are the three keywords, yeah, three keywords here, which is about the emotion, the perception, interaction, and but why we need to know about this thing, yeah. So maybe what I'm sharing today is not only to designers. I believe there are also some other viewers or audience who are coming from non-design people, and it's quite common also for me to share this kind of insight about the design to non-design people actually. So some they contacted me, is it for only design people? I said no, actually for everyone. This should be a general knowledge to the not only a designers but also to the manager people, yeah, a decision maker, and also the policy maker. Once you get the insight about the value of design, rather than appreciate design, and then you will see how we can use design across the system. So this is what been highlighted by the Malaysian Design Council that currently about the governed by design. So maybe for all of us as a design people, we need to use this platform through the Design Council, which is one of the agency under MITI, in a way that for us to push design forward, which is currently we can see people are talking very much about the creative industry. And creative industry, according to the United Nations, encompass of everything to do with design and craft. However, when we talk about creative industry in our local context, usually what has been highlighted by MBAC in particular, they always refer to something to do with the social media. You're talking about the visual communication and those kind of things. So, but contribution of the design in our SME is a vast actually. Maybe we don't have a proper database that able to support the important value of designers into the manufacturing sectors. But anyway, for what I'm sharing today is not talking about those kind of things, but very much about what designers should know, and then what are the also people who involved in the design process as the engineers, as the manufacturing engineers, production engineers. You're talking about the material people. You're talking about a decision maker. I'm talking about the the general managers, maybe the management team, the finance people who have a power to make a decision, to listen to this. Why sometimes the design has been created in such a way. It's not like we as a designer, we just like, okay, let's do design, that create this and that based on our own interpretation. What I'm sharing today as a designer or as a people who involved in the design process, which I teach in the university, a subject called integrated product development, the integration of the whole system, designer play very important role, because we are not a people just to scribble things of the ideas and share it with others, but designers are the mediator in the organization. If you can remember this word, you are the mediator, and how you going to connect in between the decision maker up to the bottom line, the production people. So this is where the value of our presence is needed in the industry. So as you can see in this slide, I highlighted three things here: the emotion, the perception, interaction. Why we have these three things? Why we need to know about these three things? Number one, when we talk about motion, you're talking about the feeling. You're talking about the inside things, how people feel, how people react to the product, how people see the connection, or what we call it emotional bonding between yourself and the product. Secondly, about the perception. Perception, how people perceive things. We came from different culture, different background, different level of education. All those things have an impact or affect the way we thought and the way we think. And those have become partly I consider as an opinion or as individual differences in interpreting what we have seen. So we cannot assume that everybody are similar to us. There are certain things that might affect the way we think and the way we perceive things. And interaction, the last one, about the communicating, the communication in between the product and the users, and then how the information being processed in our mind, the information processed in our mind, and then you translate those information in your own way to make the product interact, deliver messages, or say something about themselves without we have to read whatever typo, whatever the label that been on the surface. So now let's move further. See when we talk about the design value. So this is about the importance of value for human and its relation to design. So some may have seen this slide when I shared before with the two university in Indonesia. It's very interesting. So why the important value of human is important when we design things? Because when we talk about human value, we have the emoji, or emotion. So people love it, they like it, they enjoy, they feel a bit skeptical about your product. They are not sure about what you're going to try to deliver to your product. Does it mean? It means what have been designed, or they have a different meaning or a different interpretation. intention behind your design. So therefore, when we look into the human value, so we can see that we have our own perception, we got the memory. Yeah, everybody have the memory bank. So those memory bank will make you reflect to one another that I will share with you later. So we call about the visual equity. So we have those sensory storage, information processing, learning skills, and individual differences. All those different kind of I would say words that been embedded to reflect the emotion of your human. Yeah. So further to this, yeah, we can see that to design something is not about referring to the Professor Yahoo or Professor Google. I like to use this word, yeah, Professor Yahoo and Professor Google, because those have become a means of reference, co-reference to our future designers. I mean, the student. I won't call you a student. I'll call you future designers, for you who listen here. So don't only just refer to them, take design and copy, but most importantly, how we going to create our own originality of ideas and transform those ideas into reality. Yeah. So to ensure this, as a designer, most importantly, you must have knowledge. So how to gain this knowledge? Yeah? In the creative process or in the design process or what we call it NPD. Yeah. So if I'm having a talk face to face with you, I will ask what is MPD. Not many people understood what is MPD, but when we ask what is NYPD, definitely they know that is New York Police Department. Yeah, but NPD stands for New Product Development. So in the process of new product development, there are a few processes involved that not only designers, but again, as I mentioned at the beginning, you have a number of people that have their own responsibility before a piece of product can be produced at the end. So in this case, to do a good product, to do a good design, most importantly, you as a designer, it's not about creating, as I mentioned earlier, but you need to have knowledge. So where do knowledge come from? So you can see from the slide, it shows that the creative process, you need to do some research. The research and design have to be concurrent. If you have a design only by referring, your design could resemble the others. But if you do a proper research, not only you have your own design, but most importantly, how you're going to cater the users. That is most important. How we're going to cater the users. Because therefore, why I'm here actually to talk to you about this three things about the emotion, perception, interaction, how we can increase the user engagement. Remember those, the user engagement with your product. So therefore, research is very important in the process of creating a product. Even a simple little thing, even to design a consignment product, even to design a souvenir item, you need to do some research. You need to understand about the culture, your target audience, what about the marketplace, where it's going to be. And you know that in the marketing, they got 4P, and you talk about the product, and then you talk about the price, and then you talk about the place, and then you talk about the promotion. So that is partly also basic thing that you can have in the process of creating a product. Okay, let's see some more. We know that when we're going to create a product, I would say there are three things. So number one, we talk about designers. So as a designer, people may design things in many reasons. Yeah, and usually in the college, we've been taught in the college that you need to have a problem statement, and then you can come up with a project, you can come up with a research, you can come up with a product. But for me, there are many things where we can create a new product, where we can do some research. Not necessarily because of the problem. Yeah, sometimes we have the problem, so we know the problem. I don't have to explain here. You already been set in your mind that without the problem you cannot do a research. Without the problem, maybe we cannot create a product. So I really have the problem. So for example, you have this. You said this product is not so practical. It's a bit hard the surface. So that is a problem. My finger is not feeling well. So it may, you have some blister and so on, and you call that as a problem. What about the situation? So we talk about the situation, for example, what is happening now, pandemic. This can be considered as a situation. So how we react to those situations. So the easiest thing that I can share with you, that everybody partly involved, you cannot deny it, that you are part of the whole system at the moment by having a mask. Yeah, either you have the face mask, yeah, also you have the shield. So people being creative to create a different kind of shape of face mask in a way to get away from the stressness, get away from the sour situation. So they have a very funny little things, like those kind of animal face. They got a funny images on it. Some even they have like a Star Wars kind of thing. Yeah, people tend to create in a very creative way, in a way to release stress, in a way for them to show their creativity without they notice, in a way for them to get involved whereby they can save some money, yeah, where people are stuck with the financial issue. So that is the situation. What about the demand? Sometimes we create the product because of the demand, yeah, the demand that we have. For example, you buy a new handphone, yeah. When you have the new handphone, what you need for the product? Of course, we need the cover of the handphone, yeah, to protect from being falling down, to protect from being smashed, or to protect from any damage. So the market is huge. That creates something simple, but a good value of the product, which I call sometimes as you create the product, are you going to sell chocolate and cake, or you sell bread and butter? So in the kind of case, I call it it's a bread and butter. People buy it every day. And number four, maybe because of the opportunity, yeah? Opportunity that you have. So we say opportunity that you have, maybe come to the new celebration, the Hari Raya, the 31st August of the National Day. That is opportunity that you can gain some money. Yeah. So people use that as an opportunity. And now you go on Shopee, yeah. People use Shopee. I'm not promoting Shopee. I mean online business. Yeah, we're talking about online business generally. People see that is an opportunity for them to generate income. Same thing through the YouTube is opportunity to generate income. And you go for other kind of opportunity out there. So we can create a new product. We can create a new business. We can create a new research. So beside this, that is a common. But when you work in the industry, they may be think differently. Sometimes they have a series of products that need to be produced. They have already the intended customer. So you create this kind of product. There's so many reasons why we created the product. Okay, next. When we have the product, next thing that we need to have is the when we have as a designer, the next thing that we need to have is a product. So you need to have the product. What kind of product that you need to create? But you need also to know who are your customer. Yeah, who are your customer? So in this case, when we talk about the customer, the user, yeah, or what we call it, customer, consumer, and the user, there are three different things. Don't blanket them together. There are three different things: yeah? User, customer, and consumer. So when we talk about the consumer, you can see this, yeah. Why I'm using this fellow? Yeah, everybody know Mr. Beans. Yeah, why I use Mr. Bean here. So in the design process, designer, you have the product and you have the receiver, which is the user. And I use Mr. Bean as an icon because anybody who watch Mr. Bean, unexpected character and behavior that you can see from him. So do the users. You cannot expect much from the users. In some situations, you can predict what kind of behavior of users, but in some situations, you can't. So they came in a different manners. So same thing, you see the stupidity of Mr. Bean, but in some situation, he become very smart in the way he resolved the situation. So, right? So I hope you have a clear mind, the connection in between the designer, the product, and then we have the users. Now, when it comes to designing things, of course, either you are the future designers or some designers in the industry on their own, and some who have been workers or the staff for the particular organization. we have our intention. Yeah, we have our intention when it comes to this. However, the management have their decision, but the customer have their own expectation. How would you to link those things together? You have the intention being the design student or the future designer, and then you lack in terms of customer expectation. Why? Because the research only been done or circulated within our own friend or our colleague. I think that is a common practice that we see among our students. But in the real industry, you cannot do that. You must get the feedback from the customer, and that become the information needed and be embedded into those design. Where you involve the marketeers, you involve the brand people, you talk about the salesman people, yeah, to give all this feedback. And some situation they conduct the clinic to bring the customer together, and then they give the review of the product. But most importantly, when you work with the people, it's about the decision by the management. That is the hardest part. Yeah? Sometimes for you to not to convince the management, but how we going to educate the management to ensure that they believe that our product have a potential market. In other words, have a good commercial value. So in this situation, sometimes we have like a boundaries. Yeah? A boundaries mean you are not in big organizations. Sometimes a designer, you are not reachable to the top management. Yeah, you only able to reach your design manager. So the design manager have another layer. Sometimes what we call it a bureaucracy, and sometimes I call it bureaucracy system. So if the top management can come down, willing to listen, have some kind of group discussion to hear what the designer intention, I believe they will move forward. Not only to appreciate design and value design. What the difference between appreciate and value? Appreciate means yes, you like a new design. I want to have the new design, but they won't be able to go further because they cannot value the importance of design to be part of the strategic marketing planning. Why? Because they're not willing to invest their time, they're not willing to invest their money, and they're not willing to invest the process needed in the whole NPD, yeah, in the whole NPD. So these are the boundaries that we have in sometimes. Differences in the perception. So yeah, so we have a different culture, different ethnic, and so on. Sometimes difference in perception, the level of education have an impact on the way people think and the way people make judgment. Yeah. So sometimes like in the university, they always seem that maybe for the SNT people or science technology people, they don't value people like us. They see a design people is only the third grade group of people that get into the university, you know. So there is a reality in the system of the government also in the school. Most of the boarding school they are talking about SNT, and until today also they are not reaching to the higher level. Maybe I don't know about the STEM and so on. But the participation in between the design people and the SNT people, that maybe you have to pay, yeah, to get into the conferences. You have to pay to publish your publication, yeah, to let people read yours. In comparison to the design people, usually in the higher learning institution, organization coming up from outside, the agency coming up from outside, they engage us to create the product for them, and they pay us. So instead of they pay to be recognized, we being paid to be recognized. But this mindset cannot be break out yet within our whole education system in Malaysia. So I'm hoping maybe someday, very soon, we can change this kind of perception to see the contribution of design people. When I say design, architecture, culinary, you're talking about a different kind of, from mass communication and so on. Our contribution is huge actually, but not being valued properly by the education system and also the industry system in Malaysia. So this is the differences in perception. Overlooked, sometimes we have missed out certain important thing in the design and to advance. Okay, this is a challenge for designers. Yeah, how are we going to manage those innovation? How are we going to manage those innovation? With the statement that I made, maybe people say it's a big bold statement, but there is a reality. Yeah, there is a reality. The designer have not been valued, but we also have challenges in the way we manage the innovation. People thought that scribble here and there, You got the design and you got the degree. It's not like that. No. So we have to do research. We have to understand about the product. We have to understand about many things before we able to produce a product. I remember I went to one of the higher learning institution, and the head of department is an engineer. He said, "Why designer have to learn about about technical thing? Why designer have to learn about material? Why designer have to learn about a student designing something that involves a fly to understand about the life of a fly?" And I say, of course, we need to understand all those knowledge, to have all those information, to have all those kind of database that able for us to design the product to suit with that particular flight type, for example. Yeah. So this is the kind of mindset that we need to change in the management system that we have, either in the education or in the industry. So I reiterate one thing once again. So this is what I've been designed by Robert Van Ambridge. Yeah? So he become like a furniture designer that use his brain. And if we give to the SMT people, I don't think they're able to create something like this with a scientific way, with their lab and with their testing whatsoever high equipment that they have. But the thought inside our mind, we transfer those into reality, is not everybody have. Something that what we call it creativity. So creativity is needed in the way to manage the innovation. Yeah? So Robert Van Embree, maybe you can have a look in the Professor Yahoo and Professor Google to see how he have created the problem solving to make people enjoy, to make people surprised, to have the element of what I call it the incredible of rising structure. Yeah? The incredible of rising structure that he have created in most of his product. Yeah. So next we can see that when we talk about the emotion, the perception and interaction through the product and with users and viewers, very simple little thing. What you can see here is just for the salt and pepper. So we can have just a simple little bottle, but by creating this kind of product, it's not only deliver messages of the function of the product, but in a way that to make the ambient of the environment change. Yeah, in fact, that the exclusivity of the table presentation also change. And sometimes when you have this kind of product, it create a value of emotion to make the people that don't bother about pepper and salt on the table. They just would like to try. They may think this is better. Yeah, the taste could have been better because in the nice little container that resemble a human or maybe look like a ghost or maybe look like an animal. But whatever it is, it shows there is a interaction in between this product and the users. So when we talk about design, basically people like to know basically what design is all about. I would say that in a simple word that design is a development of an idea. Yeah, and through design actually is a process where we transform an idea into a form. And we cannot deny, as I mentioned just now, design is something that links creativity and innovation. And people said that you need to be creative to design or to innovate something, which is true. But everybody can do design. But not everybody can do a very good design. So how are you going to see this important value actually in our product? What designer should know, yeah? What the designer should do and should look into before they can see that how those products can be part of daily life. Yeah? Everything around us has been designed in some ways, and all the design actually is being produced to adapt emotion into the product. So why we need those? Our experience and emotional reaction to our environment moment by moment, or like or dislike. Yeah. So we do some election of the product to choose which one to have a joy, frustration, or do something that I call it as a personal feeling. Yeah. So it's a personal feeling, and how we need to transform those personal feeling into something that based on the response that we have in. Okay, let's see some more. Yeah. Basically, design is a journey between creativity and innovation. Yeah? So the connection something that link has been stated by Donald Norman that design is really an act of communication, which is true. When you have some product, people tend to talk about it, yeah, which means having a deep understanding of the person with whom the designer is communicating. So in other words, the images that I show here to you is maybe people look at it, it's like where you're going to place a letters, yeah, or maybe for you to keep the a plate, yeah, or we're going to keep some sorting out of things, yeah. But it has been designed where you can place your bicycle in between the product. And the idea of having this, yeah, is not about just creating using the piece of metal, but to give the feeling that people walk in, so they cycle their bicycle, and then they find a place way too far by looking at the product, give an attraction that people say, I need to park here. So it's look nice, it's like proper. So I need to be part of the community that have a good civic minded. And then so the design itself actually have an attraction in a way to communicate their function, to communicate the value of human, and then how people react to the product itself. Okay, again about the Norman. When we talk about John Norman, he's for me he's a guru or sifu of the design emotion. So he talk about the cognitive scientist as well, the user experience architect or expert. In this case, we talk about human or user experience or UX that commonly associated with emotion design. Human or user experience commonly associated with emotion design. So this is something that we discuss a lot, and in his book that he call it the design of everyday things. So where Don Norman talk that user experience encompass all aspects of end user interaction with the company, either in the form of services or the product itself. So this is something that you can lead and can look into, where designer able to use these three things to reach the users: the visceral, behavioral, and the reflective. So further to this, we can see that three level of emotional processing. Yeah. So I'm sharing with you. This is something maybe designers should learn about this to understand about this and talk about what is visceral, what is behavioral, and what is reflective. So when say about visceral, something that you look into, something that you see, something that you're able to value immediately in terms of attractiveness, in terms of the pre-consciousness or initial impression, and also you have the feeling to the product itself. So something visceral. So I look something, yeah, for example, I have this product, yeah. So when I have this kind of product, I look at it and say, wow, this is nice. So in reality, if I've seen this product, definitely my reflection about this product, you talk about something exclusive, something expensive. So it becomes the status symbol. So in this case, yeah, so visceral is a reflection immediately when we look at something, when we view of something. What about the behavioral? So how you use the product. You talk about usability, how you react with the function of the product. For example, yeah, you have this. How we understood the product, how we play with it, how you touch the button, yeah, and also a simple little thing, even like this, you keep it, you open it in use and unused. So those we talk about the behavioral. But when talk about the behavioral, sometimes uncontrollable by the users, they may misuse the intention of the product, or the intention purpose of the product. So in this case, sometimes when we talk about behavioral, about the performance of product, how long it lasts, and people react to those, yeah, and then effectiveness of the product. Some people may see the product in the term of aesthetic value, but for some others they talk about practicality and durability, where others they see the product in terms how the product have created an attachment bonding with them. For example, I would say the handphone, yeah, have a strong attachment bonding. The easiest way that if you lost the handphone, you feel like partly of your life is somewhere else, you know. So you need to find it. Most of the people. The third one about reflective. So when you talk about reflective, we talk about the meaning of the product. So after people use the product for certain time, maybe an hour, a week, a month, a year, and then they give the feedback about the product. what they think of the product in terms of safety, in terms of durability, in terms of practicality of the product. What about the value for money of the product? Worth to buy or better not have the product in your house? They may say, yeah. Some the reflection they say, like an advertisement. I saw an advertisement made by Burger King. Is very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Why you dine with a clown when you can dine with a king? So I think very cynical that they are given, but to make people reflect their mind, shall we go to Burger King or shall we go to the MACD? Yeah. So very interesting. Yeah. We talk about visceral, behavioral, and reflective. So further to this, what I mean by visceral, I give you example here. Immediately you look into this product, you don't need to explain what is it for, the function and the purpose of the product. So how the reaction of yourself and other users to look at their to look at this product. What is their first impression to this? Yeah. So you talk about the user interface that may suggest something, the purpose of this product. So no need to explain. Even in some situation, people may walk into the shoe shop just to buy the shoelace, not because they want the shoelace, but the packaging itself may attract their attention. So this is something that what we call it visceral. And then we have the behavioral, where users subconsciously evaluate how your design helps to achieve the goal. We see the product first impression and say, oh, I love this product. And they start using the product. They see how the product react to them, how the product able to serve what they wanted, how the product function and so on. Yeah. So what we call it behavior, people react to the product. Some, when you have those kind of teddy bear, you just hug it, you feel like, oh, this is part of my life. You don't have the teddy bear, you cannot sleep for some people, yeah. Even some people, the laptop always here and there with them. Even for some people, they make sure their car be washed before they themselves took the shower. So this is the kind of behavioral of the users with their product. Yeah. Sometimes we notice or sometimes we be unnoticed. Now, what I mean by reflective? So basically reflective is a consciously judgment. If this saw just before they call it subconscious, this one is conscious. Why conscious? Because we have a longer time. We have longer time to reflect to the product, to understand the product, and to be part of the product. So you make a judgment here in terms of performance, in terms of benefit, and something that I mentioned just now about value for money. So if they are happy and then they keep using it, so the form and emotional bond they have, and then they will can share with others. Yeah. So talking about these three things, yeah, about emotion, perception, and interaction is not new. It was uh, it was discussed by Maslow. Yeah, it was discussed by Maslow many years ago. Yeah, so where Abraham Maslow have discussed this in his paper, what we call it, a theory of human motivation in 1943. So it's such a long time, yeah, such a long time. So we talk about self actualization. They talk about self transcendence, and it's also part of how he evaluate people reaction towards the product. So functional and attractive things are actually perceived by people to work better. So once we saw a product, and people immediately say, I want to use the product. This has been done. For example, I read one article about how Japanese created the ATM machine experiment. So they create a different kind of interface of ATM machine, and then they see how people react to those uh, machine as part of the clinic experiment, and then they would like to see how people react to the attractiveness of the aesthetic of the product, and how those affect the way they perceive the usability of the product. So is it purely for the function? Is it purely for the practicality, or the blending of the whole thing together? So this is something that quite interesting to look at. So in the theory Maslow, actually he divided into two things. So he talked about the Maslow pyramid and about the emotional design, something that we discussed by the Don Norman in this context. Yeah. So okay, now as I've been highlighted the three things, why important to create emotion design? Because through user experience is about how you able to attract the attention, the feeling, the insight, and the impression of something. So you can see like the product that I use for the cover of my presentation today. Yeah? It talk about the kiss drink. Yeah, kiss drink. Why is it a kiss drink? I think the designer creatively created the carton packaging, whereby where you need to suck the liquid is where the graphic of the mouse or the label that been designed in such a manner that you are kissing a person. So and this product goes very well. Maybe it's not suitable for certain culture, but I believe it's quite common. Most majority, the whole world community to accept this part of a design. So this is where designer come into play. How you bring the emotion value into your product. Even when you look the top part, you talk about the Tonge Bonch, the Tonge Bonch product, where you show that the nicer of the product come, let's see me, let enjoy me. The way they design the packaging is like it's mouth opening with your tongue is outside to show that you lick the fingers, you lick the stuff, you lick the products. Yeah. So this is the expression they try to share within their product. Some more when we talk about emotion. Yeah? Emotion, there are two things. One is about emotion created by the product, and the other one is emotion created by the users and the product. So what is it mean by emotion created by the product? Let's see here. Yeah. So it's very interesting, simple product. Yeah? You see, it's a frog. Normally, when frog they need to eat something, yeah, they use the tongue and then flick through, and then they got the thing. So very smart way of designers use the ideas and bring those into analogy into a product, and you can see that you're pulling the sticker, you're pulling the tape, or you're pulling whatever that related into this kind of function of the product, and then it bring the reality of human and animal life into our daily usage. Yeah, so it's a very smart way people thought. And I'll give you another example how creatively Yako Design have created this product by coming up a series, yeah, a series of a stationary product. Why they create this series? Yeah, they try to give a statement made by them like magical ability. They can brighten up any space, adding a punch of fun and raising a subtle smile on everyone's face. I'm sure you enjoy when you look into this product. Yeah, you see this product, you look at it, wow, so cute. What is this in the first place? But and then you look at the function, it does correlate with the actual thing. And look at these three things actually they created. Yeah, porcupine, you have a pin, punch on it, and then the bird, you put out the back feather, and then you got the frog. They have a number of series of page, different kind of animal that have been embedded into the design. So what I've been shown, what I've been shown here is that designers today have been left with no stone unturned. Actually, they have been left no stone unturned. It means that you can do whatever, but must be sensible, must be approachable, must be adapted by the users. It's not creating things for our own design, for own process, but how you overturn this and integrating those with everyday things, with everyday item, either in the form of animal kingdom, like what has been done by the Yako design, or you can create something that quite cool, quite cool that related to the human behavior into your product. So it's not an easy thing actually being a designer. Let's see some more. Okay, what about this thing? Yeah, this is where emotion created between us and the product. The best example, as I mentioned earlier, is about the handphone. Yeah? When you have the handphone, how the handphone react to you, how you can use the handphone to do connectivity with everybody around the world. So this is what we call it emotion created between us and the product. So this is one of the uh, gaming, yeah, gaming controller. By looking at the gaming controller, even though people don't know how to use it, they will like have a feeling that to go and play the product. So when you start playing with this product, people tend to become crazy. Yeah. So we can see that the children are so addicted to the product. Sometimes not because only the game, the way you hold, the way you put a button, the way you handle the thing, and the way you interact with the product itself. So as a designer, it's not about form. It's about how you communicate with the product itself. Okay. Further to this, maybe I'll give another example that everybody seen it every day. We talk about the car facade or the car face. Has the car facade intentionally or unintentionally been designed to express several emotion or attitude? In some situation, does the car facade has an expression? Is it true? People say, how the car facade or the car face can have an expression? So you cannot deny, isn't it? You look at the car and say, wow, I like it. It's cute. You look at it, oh, this is nice. Sometimes you look at the face of the car and then you just stand up without a word because you appreciate not only the aesthetic value, the interaction or the reaction of the product with yourself. So what does this effect have on the buyers and users? Let's say, for example, yeah. So life car or car alive, yeah. Life of the car, but the car alive. Why the car alive? You look at this kind of product, you look at this face of the car, which is a Morgan, yeah. It's like, you have some emotional bonding with the vehicle itself. You look at it, it's like they're talking to you. You have some feeling, you have some attachment to the product itself. So I'm sure many people look at it and say, oh, I want to have this. But maybe for some others, they say that I don't like this. It's like a beast. It's like an animal. It's like a snake. So what kind of interpretation is depend. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have our one way to interpret things. Say some more about this product. Yeah. So the Morris LD van, and we see the 1948 Morris Minor. They show their work daily, carry people, carry stuff. The sadness have been delivered in their face. But just design intentionally been designed by the designer? I don't think so. When I read the history about this vehicle, unintentionally have been designed by the designers. But when the vehicle is already on the production, they notice that there's this expression of emotion in the face of this vehicle. Right? In some cases, the vehicle deliver their character. So what the difference between emotion and character? Character you're talking about rugged, about elegant, about being tough, about being like a muscle man. So that is very much about the character. So maybe I can have another talk. We can talk about how this emotion and character be delivered and how they create their character lines, character value, and character expression in the vehicle itself. Let's see some of this. Yeah. So very disgust face of the S21, the Citroen, by looking at the eyes and the face is not happy, sneering eyes, yeah. And then you look at the Figaro, very fun kind of thing, surprise face and very cute meaning. Those kind of faces be part of the emotion that they have been delivered in the car design. What about the other contact? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you are not familiar with this actor. So for the old people like me, yeah, you are familiar with Charles Bronson, who are known as a hero. Always become the hero, hardly become a crook. Very gentle, very tough, very humble, but very snaring eyes. So very lazy eyes he got. And I try to look into this where the Volvo S90, the first one being created, maybe they have some similarity. Talk about tough, about something solid. You talk about something that you can believe. You talk about safety, something that able to protect you. But at the same time, maybe the eyes look a bit lazy eyes. Yeah? So this is the kind of motion how we can correlate, because through facial expression from my study, I find out it's a signal and message that been delivered or broadcast to the users and the customer. Some more, I'm sure you look at it, I don't need to explain about this product. You can interpret in your own way. So immediately you can see how to make the product communicate with you. Simple. After you finish this, go home, or maybe you are in the studio or anywhere you are, get a pen, a plain paper, make 2 dots, U underneath, make 2 dots, N underneath, and then immediately you can see what kind of emotion delivered. Very interesting. So immediately you can see how those things react, even though we don't see the eyes, even though we don't see the ears. Yeah. So some more emotion design also drive a differentiation. I can buy this in the normal hardware shop for, I don't know, 4 ringgit, 5 ringgit. But with the jacket that you have, it create a different value, give a different emotion to the product. You sell this in the KLCC, you sell this in somewhere that exclusive, double or triple the price. Will people buy it? They will. They will. Why? Because the first impression they look at the product about the visceral just now that I've been talking, and then they react to the product and say, I want to have this product. Something that to talk about. So this is how people actually connect themselves with the product. Okay, what about this, the packaging design? Yeah. So how emotion design drive the attachment. So you look at this product, some of you have seen these images. Maybe it doesn't suit some culture, but for me, it's just a way of do the marketing and promotion. It's nothing to do with the a sexy kind of thing. But people look at it, how to attract people's attention in a very short time. People look at it, wow, this is nice. Even though they are used to the certain brand of bread, I said, why don't we try this one? Maybe look nice. Man, so the taste could be nice. So the emotion attachment that we have, it drive, it drive the attachment with the product itself. Look at the other one about blah blah. Quite simple. Can you buy me a biscuit? What kind of biscuit then? A blah blah biscuit. Okay. Why is it blah blah? So you open up like people keep, you keep chewing and eating, you keep munching things. So this is kind of thing how we correlate the product and the actual activity while we having the product. And the bottom part, how the pasta being creatively being created, to resemble or a replacement of a hair. So we take that a hair and the food, it's not good, but in some situation you have to do reverse. Look at the brand FCUK. Instead of FUCK, become FCUK. So they made a good name from it, and people tend to remember either they make it as a joke or they make it as a fun. But at the end of the day, people see FCUK, okay, I have the shirt, and they are proudly wear it, the shirt, or have those garments. See some more moving, I have to move quite fast, so almost 1 hour. So more important to create perception design through experiences. So why I'm showing here how familiar we are with those image identity and the presentation of the product. So we can avoid, we can put away our mind when we see the Rolls Royce and the double-decker red bus. It's all about London. They don't say England. They don't say United Kingdom. People say it's London. Yeah. So the Roadmaster bus, I've been surrounding such a long time ago, over a decade. Yeah. So over a decade, and until today they have the latest, very modern design. So it's synonym. Either you see this in Kowloon, either you see this in China, you see this in Japan, anywhere that you see this product, but people still connect those with the London sightseeing, London bus, and London Roadmaster. And Rolls Royce, even though owned by BMW, but still, people still think that Rolls Royce is part of the England, part of the United Kingdom. So this is how the perception in design be embedded into our mind, and then we need to understand this before we're able to put a design into place. So in this kind of thing, actually, good perception in design elicit pleasure and the sense of security and safety towards the product. So designer need to understand those. Some more that I don't need to explain about this product. You see this, and it talk about the uniqueness of the product. It talk about the value of the product. It's not only about the product itself, but the first day you bought the product, how you bring those attachment and the perception about that particular brand value into your life. So those perception about a particular brand value have been embedded from the packaging when you put the product to using the product and keeping those. I'm sure many people they still kept the packaging, not because they want to keep the packaging, but they see the value of their packaging and they don't want to simply just throw it away. So again, some more. What about this one? Look at this Fiat 500. It was started a long time ago. It was started in 1950 something. But when they come up with a brand new of Fiat 500 above, and imagine that the price is for Malaysian ringgit is about 650,000, 650,000 for this little tiny thing. But that is not what people would like to pay about the technology. I believe people pay the design, the value, and the perception of the viewers toward the product that they have. The representation of the product about their status in the community, yeah, the representation of the product in terms of not everybody can have this kind of product. But on the other hand, this product also may refer to, you know, the translucent of the Apple iMacs before, yeah, when they come out with the Apple many years ago. And you can correlate these two things between the Fiat and the translucent Max product with the candy. Yeah? People tend to correlate those with the candy. Why? Because candy is something that unique, something that may make you feel like, wow, this is something interesting that you needed every day. Yeah. So further to this, yeah, you can see that again I talk about the car facade. Very important also when we talk about perception. It delivers the image and the identity, and it talk about the brand value, it talk about the model, it talk about the purpose and classification of the product. For example, yeah, for example, I share here some of you maybe those particular images are recognizable to a particular brand, like the NW, you got the Jack, and then you have the Alfa Romeo with the G string in front, unmistakable, that is the Alfa Romeo. So I would say that in my statement, automotive facade is every vehicle trademark. Yeah, it's every vehicle trademark, and you can see from the face. And therefore, maybe for some product like our Proton, for example, not immediately being recognizable. Maybe the approach design that they have quite different, even though newcomers, newcomers with new image, but not newcomers in the automotive industry like Kia. Yeah, when Peter Strayer being given a task to rebrand Kia, what he did, he used a reverse of Aston Martin shape and then become the iconic image of Kia until today. And in 2 years, he bring the crown and a diamond to Kia to become the most sellable product in America in the automotive industry. And even today, Kia in Malaysia also have taken place to the people's life. We see another product, for example, Chevrolet, yeah, where people tend to believe that Chevrolet coming from America, but actually the Chevrolet that we have in Malaysia basically is a Daewoo, yeah, but they cannot sell Daewoo here. They brand it as a Chevrolet. So maybe believe in America, then believe in Daewoo, make people want to buy the product. So this is how we see the perception have an impact, the way we're able to attach our users with our product to ensure that they're able to purchase the product. So what are the commercial value that you need to have in this product? This is something that designer need to understand. So for example, like this, we talk about perception, yeah? How BMW carry over the image of the old BM and the new one, and the latest one, where the two nostrils have become the icon. It started as a grill, but today those element in the grill have become partly the iconic grill that have been transformed by the Audi, yeah, where they use the auto union resemblance of their identity into the whole series of latest Audi. So everybody is changing now. Yeah? In some situation, when we talk about perception, how we perceive the face of the particular product. In this case, again, I use a car. This is a frog eye. Yeah? We talk about the frog eye. So in this car, the significant relationship of car facade and human or animal faces and characteristic being embedded into the particular vehicle. Just now I talk about the emotion, yeah? Talk about emotion, but here we talk about the perception of the people, perception of the people about what you see here. So, but what are the elements that trigger this recognition? So maybe here the element is about the two big eyes and then the mouth that become a resemblance of the frog. Yeah, you look at the character of the frog, immediately you can see. So like people design, draw a cartoon and caricature, two different things. Yeah, two different things about cartoon and caricature. Cartoon can be in any form, but caricature to resemble of something. Same thing in this kind of thing. Maybe this could be another talk that we can look into what we call it biomimic, semantic or semiotic towards the language. And then you talk about anthropomorphic and zoomorphic design. This is something quite interesting for designer to understand this and how you can bring those into the design that you're able to make your product interact with the users. So like again, Pujo about Wallace and Gromit, yeah. So how the Wallace and Gromit be embedded into the design? Is it intentionally been designed by the Pujo designer? No, they are not. Actually, when they have a Pujo, they take off the Pujo grill, but they make it wider the air intake of the car and end up the 205 version become like a frog that going to explode themselves. And the 107 version become like a small frog that going to be, so something that resemble maybe about Wallace and Gromit for some people. So I'm just sharing here maybe how I can trigger your emotional bonding, and you look into this how you can see those interrelated with daily thing. Okay, again about the perception. Look at this, something that very familiar for some, maybe not familiar to some, but something that quite common to us to perceive this about exclusivity, about elegant look, about something expensive, about something that people would like to get into and sit in it and feel like, wow, this is nice. This is what I'm looking for. So those feelings, yeah, make people perceive those products and they try to find a way how much it costs and they try to ensure they're able to have the product if they can afford. So this is the kind of bonding, yeah, that we need, can see in way people perceive. Again, Coca-Cola. I talk about Coca-Cola. You know Coca-Cola with the image of a sexy bottle, yeah, sexy bottle of Coca-Cola. But when they try to create a new product, partly Coca-Cola has become part of the failure design. Why? Because they try to change the name, the logo, yeah, sorry, to change the logo and the shape of the bottle, but it doesn't work and they're coming back. You can read this in the failure design, how Coca-Cola have maintained their identity for almost a decade. But when they're going to create the new product, they try to associate the product with the F1. They've been very careful. So the package here is like a crossroad between the physical and emotional sense. When I say physical means you can still see the sexy shape of the bottle be embedded here, but on the other side of the bottle, how they correlate with the F1 from the top. So you're talking about red Ferrari and red Coca-Cola. So the physical and emotional essence of the brand in between those two brands have been embedded into this design. I think this is a smart thought of a designer where they did a deep research. They have a deep research before they can come up with this kind of design. So this is not something that being created overnight. So just to share with everyone, very important to have a good knowledge and a good research before you create things. And for, further to this, how little thought may change the feel and image of the product. For people keep taking out, this is one of the product we give a good design award. So you can take it out, and because you look at it, very watery packaging, and people look at it, especially the kids, yeah, they'll be crazy about this kind of product. So about exclusivity, yeah, you look at the product, just a coffee, 3-in-1, 5-in-1, but at the end of the day, how you create the bonding of those, yeah, and people perceive as something exclusive. And same thing with the brownie. All these two products we give a good design award. And lastly, I share another product that came from Sabah. Look very classic, look very old stuff, but it's a new product. They are not selling the chocolate. They are selling about the storytelling of Sabah. So you have those golden monkeys. You have those orang utan. They talk about the Gunung Kinabalu. So people bought the product. It's not because they want the chocolate, but the storytelling to share with others where they have been. So it's about personal thing where you can hold, where you can share, and you carry with you the story and the ambient and the environment and the experiences that you have within the packaging of the product. This is how clever ideas of local designers embedded into the product, and this is something that what we call it as a create your own personal design, yeah, own design as own brand rather than copy others and claim that is our. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the interaction design through users experience. Why we need to have interaction design? Because ability how the product communicate in terms of function and messages. I'm sure you look at these images of the vehicle, the eyes always become the eye contact in between the human. Same thing when we design a car, same thing when we design certain product. There are certain elements that become a connectivity in between yourself and the product. So in this case, yeah, look into automotive industry, they use a lot of design language. Yeah, Mercedes, they have their own design language. BM, they have their own design language. Everybody have their own design language. And how those design language being transformed. This is one of my lecture talking about tracing the influence of design language in automotive surface design. Maybe some other days we can have this. I have a different manufacturer, different brand. How they transform those into element of character, into element of broad shoulder, into the element of DRG, down the road graphic, and encompass the whole design, the front that deliver the face or the recognition of the brand, the side that deliver the profile, and the rear to complement the whole design. So this is could be something interesting to know. And let's see some more. Is it for jam or peanut butter? So looking at the product, you don't have to explain to tell people, but you need to have a label about the ingredient of the product. So something that needed in the packaging before you can be on the shelf. So you don't have to tell people what is the content of this product. It's understood. Looking at it, it's understood. So people won't say this is jam and it's a bit, is it a peanut butter or is it something else inside the container? So the way they design their packaging without the words, without the typeface, it deliver the right messages to the users and make people believe with the product. Okay, some more. Plant arrangement will create the mold. It's true. How the plant arrangement create the mold. Why actually you see that the casing is slanted? Yeah, it's curvy. If we have it straight, 1 meter high, common behavior for human being to put a key, your handphone, or your hand to be on it. By creating this kind of shape, actually you are communicating with them, telling them, you interact with them that I'm not safe for you to put your hand, I'm not safe for you to put your stuff, leave me alone. So it create the mode, it create the arrangement of how you're able to value and to appreciate. In other words, the way we arrange things is how to interact with our own inner side, yeah, to make sure that we value the whole ambience in the office. So you create the home like an office like a home, and people will stay longer. But if you make an office like an office, people waiting 5 o'clock, they want to go home. So they have a big impact. I know many of you familiar with this. Yeah, so Jewish one, I use this a lot for example. So this product basically only for the user. But when Philip Stark created this product, nothing to do with the function of the product. Very much about he created the icebreaker product. You want to create a conversation when people look at it. What is this? Where do you get it from? And the most favorite question, especially by the woman that they like to hear, how much it costs? Yes, how much it costs? Because then it becomes something that resemble the status of themselves within the community. Yeah, it's not only a car. Look at this product. So when we're dealing with the children, sometimes we have to educate them about the use of the product. But in this case, actually, you don't have to. Huh? So the product itself tell them how to play and to use the product in a wise way. Okay, again, understood design. I call it like the honey container just now. So you look at the product, it's understood. You need to explain what is it for, what is the purpose. And in fact, when you are carrying this kind of a product, people look at it, wow, this is nice. Where you get that thing from? Yeah? So they try to search. And sometimes we just get into the shop not to buy the shoes, just to get the sock because you want that packaging. Yeah. So how you create the interaction, you deliver messages, you communicate with the users through the design of the product. And again, this kind of product, we shall call it partly of the design thinking of the designers. So we talk about the environmental issue, we talk about sustainable, we talk about reusable, of the product and also replanting of the particular wood, yeah, to ensure that we can sustain the environment that we have today. So this kind of product sometimes can be correlate with the SDG 17 goals. Yeah. So a designer maybe you need to look into those, or not only a designer, the people involved in the whole designing project, either the decision maker, the finance people, and so on, will be part of it. And this is another example that I always share as well. How the product deliver messages to people, how they communicate, how they interact with us to share and telling them what happened to you. Yeah, why broken your hand or you broken your leg or you broken your neck maybe, yeah. So by having the product, it just deliver messages to the people. Even sometimes it may create a havoc thing. Nowadays people like viral thing, yeah. People are so conscious about the viral thing. And again, about the salt and pepper, it's like a battery, something that totally contrasts from the norm use, yeah. But creating this kind of product, people tend to use it because they feel it's something different, yeah. So again, look at this. Why I've been talking about the emotion, perception, and interaction. Why? And because to attract and to hook consumer attention, because good design is a good business. Yeah, good design is a good business. So we cannot deny those. And through the good design, either you do it utilitarianism or you do it in a brutal way. So it depends. Utilitarianism means for purely the purpose to use. Brutalism, something that out of the ordinary, yeah, out of the ordinary. So there's a way that people may look into the product, how people react into the product, and how people tend to value your creation. So in this case, yeah, we know that our world is in motion today. So with the new digital thing, looking toward the R 4.0 and so on, yeah, things have changed a lot. So we cannot deny that why I'm talking about this issue, especially in the packaging design, the product run for election every day. And good design is critical to winning the campaign. So this have been mentioned by a group of brand and marketing, why designers should be alert of what is happening today. And further to this, I would say lastly, design and designer is interrelated. So as a designer, you are supposed to create and not to destroy. What I mean by supposed to create, when you design something, don't copy others. Create your own design as your own brand. Secondly, you must have knowledge. How you get this knowledge, make sure you have a good research and transform those research into your knowledge. Last week, I have a talk with 216 ketua pengarah, the director, head of directors, and the general managers of state government of Sabah. Yeah, so they're joining 260 of them about design and innovation. How I share the design in the context of a daily job. So how I bring those innovative idea that also they need to change in the way they deliver their daily job with their community. So design can be in many ways, in many forms, depend how you interpret. So most important, we said, as a designer, we create and not to destroy. We create product that able to be used, have a good commercial value, not something that nice but cannot be produced, wrongly material being chosen. We don't concern about the production, and then we don't communicate with the fabricator and end up our product just be on the screen or on a piece of paper or be in the form of prototype for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's useless being a designer like that. And with that, I would like to say thank you. And I hope all of you have some insight about the importance of emotion, perception, and interaction value that we can embed it into our design. So I shall give back to Mr. Leroy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Um, I was deeply inspired by what you shared, and I see the relevance, even not just in terms of industrial design, but I come from a visual effects and animation background, and understanding the emotions and perception and interaction when it comes down to designing. It's a very broad discipline that you've brought about.
Yeah.
You've gone from products to even packaging, which is that leans a lot on I would say graphic design, and we see that those visuals that were brought out. I was inspired. I loved I loved how you use those examples to actually illustrate the way we perceive things at a very quick glance. I have to admit, I was actually laughing in the background. I really thoroughly
Okay.
enjoyed it.
Okay, interesting.
Yes,
Yeah,
and one thing that I really enjoyed from your sharing was the way Yanko Design actually used the the inspiration of nature and
yeah,
the behaviors of men in utilizing the stationary products, the little porcupines, the bird with the pencils, and I realized that the 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 those things could have only happened
mhm,
when when designers take not just pride in designing their work, but they really take it steps further, like what you mentioned in terms of aiming for that originality, bringing about the
yes,
knowledge that they have from that research into their final product design.
yeah.
Now, um, as I think what we're going to do right now as well, we're going to start opening up the session for question and answers. For those of you who are joining us online, please feel free to drop in your questions through the comments session. But while we wait a little bit for that to take place, we have a little short video that we would like to share with everyone regarding the design week. Let us enjoy for a few minutes. All right, and thank you for that video as well. Prof, I think what I would like to do is I would like to start off a question for myself personally, um, because I find that something that you highlighted during presentation really piqued my interest. You said that good design is good business, and one of the areas which you touched on, and an example was with Kia and what Peter Schreier did to turn around the whole entire design. Now, I have to say and I have to admit that one of the main reasons why I went for a Kia was because of Peter Schreier. Now, I can see that that correlationship between the design and the business was very strong. And you mentioned through your presentation regarding the contention or the communication that needs to happen between designers, users, and management. Now, for some of our viewers here as well, some of them are aspiring designers, they're getting there along the way. But what are some of the tips you could leave with us in terms of how to navigate between designers, users, as well as management?
Okay. Wow. A very, very interesting question. But there is something that I've seen in life, yeah, when we are judging the Malaysian Good Design Award, yeah. And every time when we have a good design award session, I would share that the management would love to be there because they would like to claim the reward, whereas those reward actually should be given to designers team. Yeah. So, but the last couple of years, we have mentioned this to the management that you should value the presence of your design people to come and talk about the design rather than the management who talk about it, because they are the people that created this product. But of course, the presence of them is quite important. So when you're asking about the interrelation, is it between these three things? So being a designer, as I mentioned, the last one, as a designer, we're supposed to create and not to destroy. What I mean by create, not to destroy, a designer is not about getting an idea and then you put out an idea either on the paper or on the tab today. Yeah, people use a tab as a mean of the way to express the thought. But quite important to me when I seen quite a number of involvement with the mereka, involvement with some persatuan tanggung, with the MRM itself, and we meeting the different kind group of usahawan and design team in Malaysia. Yeah, and we're dealing with the government agency. We see that majority of the designers, maybe some they disagree with me, but they have to accept the fact. Majority of the designers, I said majority, not all, they don't have understanding in terms of production in real. Yeah, understanding in terms of manufacturing, understanding in terms of material, and partly the costing. In some product you need to know the costing, some product maybe not. So those kind of things needed to be have by a designer. Yeah, you need to have those, and then by having those, it's not going to be a restriction too, but those will become a guardian whether your product will be feasible or not for production. I seen like a group of designers, they create the product, and the industry not willing to take their product to put into a production. Why? Because they knew that the product is not reaching to the in the process of design. We call it the TRL, technology. We talk about the technology ready level. Yeah. So which level? Level 8 or level 9? Or your product stay at level 4 or level 5? So you see that you need to do a lot of modification. So this is the thing that will become in terms of cost, in terms of time, yeah, in terms of delaying the whole process. So it's affect a lot of things. But if designer have a good understanding about the production, I know that majority of designer they have, but only the surface, not into reality. So they need to know what type of machine, they need to know what kind of technique that can be used and how to outsource those products. So this the knowledge need to embed it into. And then once you have knowledge, you have the information, the research that I mentioned just now about the particular product that you're going to design, and then understand the users about the users requirement. When I say about user requirement, need to have some feedback about the current product, unless if the product is totally new. But if the product or similar product already in the market, we need to get some feedback. It's not to see the weaknesses of the product, but also to look into the what is the strength value of the product, what is the strong commercial value of the product, what is the important things that make people believe in that particular product. And then they created the product, and then from there you need to educate. If you are working in the organization, you need to educate the management. I like to use the word educate rather than convince. Convince is
Mm,
something that may be changed, in the second. But when you educate people, they have the good understanding of what you are saying, of what you try to tell them, the value that you're going to share with them, what is the revenue that they can have from the product, and then they will tend to agree mostly in your proposal. So this is, I think, the strong interrelation that I see in between a designer, the user, the product, and also the management. There are four things, so not three things. So they have to look
mm,
together. Yeah, I hope
mm.
it answer what your
Yes,
intention.
yes, Prof. I realized that when you were just mentioning it a while ago as well, that the core relationship between the designer, it's not just about the sense of the sexy part about designing. You get to sketch stuff, you get to create stuff, but it's also the understanding of how it needs to be manufactured in reality. That not just the beauty of the thing, but the reality of it, the real the what I would call the realism behind it, because without that ability, like you've mentioned, the design just goes to waste. It doesn't reach that level that is ready for production. One thing that I like in terms of how you've approached this, also you mentioned about educating management, which I believe
Mm,
is also not an easy task for a lot of designers
yeah.
to 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 I would say approach that, because most of the time they're always, I like this design, I've worked on this, I've researched on this, and a lot of emotions are poured into it. Maybe one area which you think, in terms of educating management, that you can, a tip that you can leave to our aspiring designers.
Okay. Uh, okay, when you say educating the management, there are two things, yeah, educating the management.
Mm,
One, we talk about in the context of educating in the real organization, like you are in the conglomerate company, yeah, some in the small
mm,
company, and some also in the context of being the academician like ourselves, yeah. So
mm,
being the
mm,
academician, for us to make sure that the management to believe people from design uh, have an equal value to people like them from the science and technology, which have
mm,
been a long time. Yeah, that in my talk, sometimes I talk when you talk about your ambition, what you want to be. Yeah, and people always talk about being a parent ambition, want to be lead, lawyer, engineer, accountant, and doctor. But we end up become a design person. So what is your future? People will ask. But today things have changed a lot. But the acceptance of some toward the value of our present is quite low for me. They don't understand the process that we have to go through. They thought that we do something simple thing. This is the thing that we need to educate about the management. I share two experiences. Yeah, I got one student where the father, of course, he's come from a very wealthy family. The father want him to be in London to study business, yeah, business and management. But he decided to come into a design school, and the father looked at him. Are you crazy? What you going to do in future? You have no life. Look at me with my business today. So you should supposed to take a role to back up me once I'm getting older. I mean to overtake the family business. But he said, I have no interest on those, but I will do my own business. And the father said to him, okay, you be on your own. I'm not going to accept you as my son to that stage. Yeah. And I look at him, he have the ability to design, but looking at the result, first and second semester, it's only 2.97, 2.65, very, very low result. And the highest he go, only achieve 3-pointer. So I said to him, how are you going to ensure that your father believe in you? How to make sure that? So you need to do something. Show it to him that through your design, through what you are studying today, have a greater future for you to live, not necessarily to be in business like what we have, what he has. So what he did, yeah, I said to him, fill up your room with all the sketches, drawing, influences about design. Your father will walk in and ask you. So once you get into your room, and then share with him. So not just the drawing, you learn about entrepreneurship, you learn about material, you learn about interpersonal skill, yeah. You learn about how to interact with communicating with others. So all those subjects that we have stretched out in our whole syllabus system actually is a plan to ensure that we can embark ourselves once we get out from the higher learning institution to become part of the practitioner in the industry. So I said to him, and surprisingly, the father looked at it and then the father tried to understand the role and function of design people within the, helping the local government to increase the GDP of the country. He see that value. So you must
mm,
choose the right word, the right terminology, and the right situation to share with them, and then about what we are doing. And he did that. And the father fully sponsored him, gave him a car, and he's doing something quite well now today. So being in the industry, yeah, we have been dealing with local industry. Of course, the similar kind of a circle that coming into Malaysian Good Design Award. And this
mm,
is the role and function of Malaysian Design Council actually to educate through Madrid, to educate through MIDA, to educate through the Kementerian Keuangan, MEDEC, or the other. Even we can work with MOTEC and KKMM and different kind of ministry, yeah, to ensure we can create a program to educate the policymaker about design can be part of the strategic marketing planning in their management. So not necessarily a design people have to be there, but you can bring in the expertise to work with you, yeah, and they don't have to be in your organization. So by involving this kind of expertise in the process of management, and this is where we're able to educate the important value of designers present in the process of creating new product. We always have a conflict. Yeah, I remember that when I was a moderator, I said a statement that engineer is a engineer is an enemy to a designer. I said in terms of manufacturing production. Yeah, and one
Yeah.
of the panel disagree with me. He said, "I disagree with you because you have to work with them." I said, "Yes, they are our enemy, but they have to be our closest friend. We need to
Mm,
share a cup of coffee with them. If not, you cannot produce the product. When share enemy, because they are based on the calculation, you're always on the ground.
mm,
We are on the air. They see them, but they see us, but they cannot touch us. So this is where you're going to put the idea together. We have to appreciate their presence, and they also
mm,
have to appreciate our presence. Yeah, you can see the video, the making of Lotus Elise. Yeah, a conflict in
mm,
between the design team and the engineering team. All those bad work coming out from both team. When they have a hidden camera to see the discussion, the true discussion, and those are common thing happening in the industry. I see maybe in Europe, I was there for almost 12 years and here and there studying and working. Compared to like in Malaysia, we are very much, the Malay, Chinese or Indian, we are so much to jaga hati lah, yeah? To jaga
mm,
too much, or I don't want to say lah. Later on, he may feel bad about me and he don't want to be a friend to me. They can make for life, but over there, you're not happy, you disagree, you just say that you disagree. Come to the lunchtime, we stop and then we go together and have lunch. Coming back, we argue again for the good sake. So if we can have those kind of what I call it as a culture change, yeah, in our
mm.
community, in between the decision maker and in between the design team, I'm sure we can change. It will take some time. For what have been done by the design council currently, they are proposing, not proposing, they are encourage the local industry to own design, own brand. Cannot be in a year. It will take about 4 or 5 years maybe before we can change the ethic and the common practice of our local industry. I hope yeah, that's help to answer some of what you intended to know.
Yes, definitely, Prof. I think what you've mentioned it's a very, very true, I would say, assessment in terms of the way we as Malaysians approach design because we are very deeply entrenched in our cultures, and I
Mhm.
think with the newer designers as well, they're also being trained right now to receive much more criticism that are a lot more constructive, but more to the point. But yet telling them that I think it's part and parcel of training as well, which is that that is the professionalism that you need at work, but that's not the interrelationship that needs to happen within a team, and
Yeah.
and definitely it's an eye opener coming for us to hear that from you. Now we've
Mhm.
got a couple of questions from our audience right now, and this is from Muhammad Azidan. He says, when we see the industry in Malaysia and the value the design as one of the tools to increase their product value, in your experience, how do you see the industry in Malaysia and how the product value can be brought up through design?
Okay, I think partly I've mentioned earlier that
Mm,
through number of participation of industry in the Malaysian Good Design Award organized by the Design Council. Currently,
mhm,
I can see the increased number of participation. It shows or give a reflection that our local industry tend to see the important value of design in their product. Yeah. So in fact, we've seen that the China are known for their copying ethic, but China
mm,
have changed today. with
mm,
a couple of billion value of design industry worldwide. And they predicted that in 2025, China is going to lead the industrial design of the world. No more America, no more Europe. China going to lead. It means that they are in the process of changing their culture from copying ethic into creating their own product. And we can see that is happening today very vast, and more people tend to venture their business in China itself. So if our local industry, our local industry can see this important value. Currently, I've seen from observation past 10 years and the research that been conducted before I left Malaysian Design Council. So they have the information, a set of data about the local industry, the designers, practitioner, and also the institution. So they can see that the local industry tend to accept the important value of design to be part of their strategic marketing planning from the result. However, the core problem is that they're reluctant to invest in terms of, as I mentioned, about financial, in terms of time, because the design, new product design, new product development, you need a
mm,
little bit of time. Unless you do the packaging design, can be done maybe in 3 days or a week time, yeah. But when it comes to actual product, you need much longer time to do the prototype, to test, and then to see the outcome, and then you may share with the potential users, get their feedback, and then you make some improvement. So these are two things that not willing to be invest by the our local industry. But I'm hoping, with the role play by the government agency, role play by all the government agency, in particular the related ministries, able to help the MRM as the only government agency that look into design in Malaysia, beside MDEC that very much into the creative industry, to to educate the whole community, and also the industry about the presence of design is needed. Then we can create our own product value rather than just to see the similarity of product with other people from the rest of the world. So, so we said the value of design as one of the tool to increase their product value. Yeah, I think that is happening. So partly the changes that or acceptance and the role play by like Matrix, for example, they used to call people from design industry to share with 36 categories of SME in Malaysia in their discipline. So that is something that kind of activity need to be done. And also like MIDA also, they also get involved design people by establishing the Federation of Malaysian Textile Fashion Association. So in a way that they want to make people see the important value of not only about the fashion show, but about how design actually become part of our daily life. So this is among the thing industry, including like I remember like SME Corp, SME Corp that have done this, and to see. So there should be more and more agencies that come into play to work with closely with the right agency, and then to help and promote the presence of designers in Malaysia.
right. Lovely. Thank you, Prof.
Mm.
And I do note as well that actually when I take a look back retrospectively, maybe
Mm-mm.
because of the years of looking at how Malaysian Design Council has approached in terms of promoting as well as implementing the Good Design Award, I can actually see, even as an academician, can see the impact that it's had in terms of the industry and the growing importance in terms of the role design plays in companies and businesses as well. I think it's
Mm-mm.
something that a lot of the younger ones can really look forward to. In fact, when you mentioned MDEC, post MDEC 10 years ago, our creative industry was very small.
Yeah.
10 years later, everything is starting to boom. And I believe that that is the trend moving in as well for design in
Mm-hmm.
all. All
So
right. So
In fact,
yeah.
if I can add in, we can see that every year we have those kind like in October, yeah, the
Mm,
Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur, the City Council of Kuala Lumpur, yeah, they have a KL Design Week, yeah, a KL Design Month. They have it every year, but unfortunately, those have not been like noticed by most of the public. Only within the circle of art educational or the group of industry that involved within this agency that related to it, it's supposed to be a national event, the KL
mm,
October weeks, yeah, a month KL October, sorry, KL months week, yeah. So in October, the whole October, they have a program every day, but unfortunately, the number of participation should have been bigger than what we expected. Another one, we know that the local organization, NGO, and association also participate. Like when we have like MIFF, MGPA, they have a yearly uh, their own exhibition, yeah, in KLCC, and then we have a different kind of local design in terms of furniture design and also the interior design. That if we can find a way how to connect those kind of exhibition or activity that can be projected as a way that we're going to promote design for the whole year. So
mm.
every month we have something happening about design, and this is what have been done by Korean in Japan, and now I think Indonesia. They just starting up again, yeah, to promote the important value of design in the country. So this is something maybe we need to look into by the right channel and participation of the right agencies.
Correct. And Prof, I think what you have very aptly put is that instead of working in silos and we
Mm.
work together, and people can actually see the whole correlationship of how design actually contributes to the GDP as well. I think that
Yeah.
the impact that it will have in terms of the value that designers bring to industry will become even much more prominent as well. And with that, let's take the next question. And this is from Mr. Yi Kang. He says, will emotional design
Mm.
theory still apply to the lower income market group? Presume that they buy based on price. So I guess this is a very very interesting question because it touches a little bit on Maslow's theory as well, in terms
Mhm.
of necessity and needs, as opposed to emotional design, which is a bit more on, I believe, on self-actualization, if I'm not mistaken. Prof, to you.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Good to know that Mr. Kang is around. So, as a friend of me as well. So, yeah, for me, I still believe that emotional design theory is still apply to the lower income market group, depending. I did give example just now about the stationary stuff. Yeah, stationary stuff, we don't have to be something very expensive or exclusive. For example, like we have that I mentioned just now. I mentioned about Malaysian Gift and Premium Association. Yeah, so. Yearly they have exhibition about I think more than 10,000 visitors to come and have a look at the product. So they have the product from the cheapest one to the premium product. But in this case, they again, the committee of MGDA, they work closely with design institution and also the design agency to search the important value of design in the gift and premium product. So, in other words, that this could be a lower income market group of people, or maybe a common market group of people. Doesn't matter what is the value of the market is, but affordable. I would say it's affordable product. Yeah. Sometimes the higher income people also they are quite choosy in deciding what kind of product they're going to buy. It's not about the it's not about the pricing, but the value of product and the money that they have to pay. Yeah. So in this case, for me, I still believe that the theory of emotional is needed, even though for the lower income, that the product either you have in the mass production product or customized mass production product or very customized product. So depending, yeah. So this theory is applicable in a way to, especially what we call it like a bread and butter selling product. I call it, yeah. You have a bigger number. How to attract people with that bigger number to ensure that people just buy the product because they don't like the product. They don't care about how much it costs. For them, what they paid is not much compared to the value they gain from the product. I hope I able to answer what have been asked by our brother Ikang. Yeah. So because
Definitely,
sometimes,
Prof.
yeah, because sometimes I think what the most difficult task for a designer is having a deep understanding of what customer motivation and behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that not every designer have that kind of ability. But to understand those or to understood of their behavior and their what they call it their behavior and their motivation, this is where a designer need to have a good knowledge. Yeah? So I involved with a number of community project. To deliver to the community is not like the normal mass market. We must understand the nature of the level of education, the culture, the acceptance of the technology that we bring into their culture, and all those need to be understood by a designer before you're able to create the product. Yeah. Okay.
And thank you, Prof, because we see the applicability that
Yeah.
when we talk about the emotional design theory, is not just limited to groups of people, but it is the way that everyone actually responds to the products that they interact with on a daily basis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we do have another question here by Nachmal Nadvi. In terms of the Coke bottle rebrand, he's mentioned that the initial bottle design he believed was derived from the cocoa pot, coca pot. Okay, if the new direction is merging with that organic shape with fast and high tech design language, I think this question relates a little bit to the design language of the example that you showed a while ago with the Coca-Cola bottle.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with the question that the actually the high technology have been correlated in the design language of the new Coca-Cola. Yeah, so we see that they try to embed the F1 design into the bottle itself. They try to correlate with the we are heading toward the IR4. So those kind of thing they try to embed it into the design. Actually, they try to break the value of audience that currently they have, which is a quite common big audience. But they try to they're going to penetrate a different audience, which is like a younger group, for them to accept the new design and to be part of their daily drink. So they look at it. I want to coke. So the shape of the bottle itself to make it become so recognizable on the shelf. I used to
Mm,
share where I said that the 3 seconds is needed for people to recognize new packaging on the shelf. Through the research that have been done, I always talk everywhere, tell everywhere. But this through reality, yeah, have been I think been become evident through this Coca-Cola bottle, yeah, that they have created, and this kind of shape able to attract attention easily, yeah, in a few numbers of different brand of products in the fridges and in the shelving or in the display itself. So I'm
thank you, Prof, for that. I think
mm,
you've encompassed in terms of how the design language is quite evident, especially in that design.
mm,
And I believe that this gentleman Nabil Al Amin is he says any advice for a new designer on what they should and shouldn't do when they are designing products.
okay.
Believe he's a
Uh,
student, but okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Again, just a little bit more about the Coca-Cola just now. It's true they try to
Ah,
get
yes.
away from the merging that organic shape with the fast high-tech design language, which is true. Yeah, that
Mm,
was what being asked by Najma. So
mm,
I like the way they do about the talking about the fast movement, talking about something that become the world iconic about the F1 and how they embedded those into the what we call it high-tech design language, which is true. Coca-Cola is one of the product. Say they try to blend in between people play with the PlayStation. You have the remote on your hand, and then for the gamers especially, and you got the bottle of Coke on the side. So the whole ambient being blend through the design that they have together with what they are daily activities. Yeah. Okay. And the question just now about the Uh, Let me check the question. Any advice for new designer? What should
That's
and
right.
shouldn't do?
Advice for young designers
Uh,
when they what?
my last slide, yeah, before I
Mm,
said thank you, I made a statement: as designer, we create and not destroy.
not destroy.
I think that's the best advice. So when they say
Mm,
create and not destroy, being a designer, get away from copying ethic. We can do a lot of references. Do references, part of your research. You analyze their design, why they have been designed in such a way, table it out, find a way the element that they have, and then try to correlate with their maybe company identity, maybe correlate with their policy, maybe you correlate with their certain target audience. You table those things, and then from there you may get some answer where your design direction is going to be. So that's why I say as a designer, we create and not destroy. So those knowledge will make you become somebody who are not just creating the product, but you understand the intention of the product, targeting of the product, and when you share with the product, with the manufacturer or the decision maker, and they look at it, yes, proceed with the product. So if you are a
mm,
student or you are the future designer, you have a good research, not by using your friend to become your participant to get the information, which is a common practice by majority of the student, but you do a real research, a proper research. I'm sure when you discuss with your decision maker, which is your supervisor, share with them your justification. Share with them justification made from your data. I'm sure they won't reject your idea because, as I mentioned before, educate them about the new finding of the product. I have a student where he would like to design a kayak, yeah, a canoe. And I said, I have no knowledge about it. So I let him design it. I said, okay,
mm,
but you have to find all the information. He come and share the information with me. And I found out that he's one of the Malaysian representative that they have to go to Australia to have this kind of tournament, canoe tournament in Australia. So I learned a lot from him. So sometimes
mm,
not necessarily we are the superior or the decision maker. We know everything. Sometimes we can learn from our own people. So if we can bring ourselves to the lower level to understand the whole thing, but you are just a leader to be there, but not necessarily that you have to use your own power. In other words, like myself, I don't go into micromanagement, empowerment your people, and then you believe in them, but they must justify based on their research and information that they have. I think that is my best advice to a designer.
and thank you, Prof, for that because I can see how all the things that you just mentioned a while ago leads back not just to the topic but
Mhm.
also to the pride that we all have as designers when we have done not just our homework, but we've gone beyond to the participants or the users to get their feedback on how we have approached the design and iteration as well from that. Now,
Mhm.
with
Let,
that as well, I yes,
maybe I can just a
mm,
little bit to add in that I
okay,
forgot to mention. Designer, you have to work smart. Yeah. Today is not about designing in the form of shape, form, yeah, or whatever you're going to create, but don't forget to use the technology. The technology today have opened a lot of opportunity for designers to play with your design. Technology can be in many forms that involve material, that involve production, and sometimes it shorten the process of creating a sample product, creating the prototype, even creating the model of the product. So utilize this technology into what you're doing. Even for example, if you design a car, yeah, you design a car. Last time we are restricted with a combustion engine that you have the engine in front, except for some car like Skoda and BMW, they have at the back. But now, with the EV, some situation you don't need engine at all. You only have a motor. Either the motor can be in big block, or motor can be in the two wheel, or can be in the four wheel, or can be underneath. So you can maximize 35% of the spaces that you have into your design. So this is where awareness of technology enhancement also important things that need to look by designers also. So I think maybe that's all. Sorry to add in.
and that's all right.
Yeah.
Definitely, Prof. I think that's a that's definitely important in this day and age as we're approaching R 4.0, and it's not a distant talk anymore. It's knocking at our doorstep right now. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, I would like to thank you, Prof. Hariri, for joining us today. Um, for those who have joined us online, at the comment section of the wherever you guys are at, whether YouTube or Facebook, please do fill in the feedback form because you'll be able to receive your e-certs from there. And last but not least, before we end the talk show, just quick reminder as well. At 2:30 p.m. later today, we will have another talk show called Venturing into Virtual Production. And we have together with us from XR Stage, Nixon Tua, as well as Nicholas Chan from Disguise, that will be bringing us a news update in terms of virtual production that has just landed in Malaysia. And let's join us for that session. And it will be an interactive one, and definitely a potential one to see how it's transforming visual effects and the advertising scene in Malaysia. And thank you very much again, Prof. Hariri, for joining us, and we
Most
hope to see you
welcome.
soon.
Most welcome. And thank you everyone for listening. And thank you for the opportunity given to me to share. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.